Intelligence is often assumed to be a safeguard. In business, it is not. Some of the most damaging decisions in modern business history were not made by inexperienced founders, emotional leaders, or careless teams. They were made by people who were exceptionally smart, founders who understood their markets, executives who had access to the best data, leaders surrounded by advisors, analysts, and dashboards. And yet, the decisions they made quietly weakened their companies, not because they lacked intelligence, but because intelligence introduces a different kind of risk. Smart founders don't usually fail due to ignorance. They fail due to confidence shaped by past success. This is where business decisions stop being rational problems and start becoming psychological ones. Because the human mind does not process success and failure symmetrically, it learns the wrong lessons from winning. Early success trains founders to trust instincts that may no longer be valid, and the more intelligent the founder, the more convincing those instincts feel. This is the paradox. The same intelligence that helps a founder win early can later prevent them from questioning their own judgment. In psychology, this is not considered a flaw. It is considered predictable. When a founder makes a good decision and it works, the brain rewards certainty. Neural pathways strengthen around that decision-making pattern. Over time, success becomes evidence not just of a good idea, but of personal correctness. This is how confidence quietly transforms into assumption. An assumption is dangerous in environments that keep changing. Markets evolve, customers adapt, competitors copy, improve, and reposition. But the founder's mental model often stays frozen at the point of early success. They don't think they are ignoring change. They believe they already understand it. This is known as overgeneralization bias, the tendency to apply past wins to new, unrelated situations. Smart founders are especially vulnerable because they can explain their decisions very well. They can justify them. They can defend them logically. They can persuade others that the decision is sound, even when it isn't. Cognitive biases don't disappear with intelligence. They become more sophisticated. Instead of obvious mistakes, they show up as reasonable narratives. A founder may ignore weak signals from the market because they don't fit the internal story of the business. They may dismiss customer feedback as noise rather than information. They may delay change because the existing strategy still looks mostly right. This is confirmation bias at work, selectively noticing information that supports existing beliefs. And the danger isn't that founders don't see the data. It's that they interpret it through a lens shaped by success. When data challenges the founder's belief, it feels unreliable. When data confirms it, it feels obvious. This creates a false sense of control. The company doesn't collapse suddenly. It erodes slowly, quietly, rationally. Most founders believe their decisions are driven by logic. In reality, logic often arrives after the decision is made. The mind decides first. Then it explains. This is not a character flaw. It's how the human brain works. Decisions are influenced by identity, reputation, fear of loss, and attachment to prior effort. One of the most powerful forces here is sunk cost bias. Founders struggle to abandon strategies they've invested time, money, and emotional energy into, even when evidence suggests it's time to move on. The smarter the founder, the more elaborate the justification becomes. They don't say, "We're afraid to change." They say, "The market will come back." They don't say, "This product no longer fits." They say, "Customers just don't understand it yet." Language becomes a shield. Intelligence optimizes within a known system. Adaptability rebuilds the system when it no longer works. Many founders confuse the two. They keep optimizing a model that should have been questioned. More features. More efficiency. More marketing spend. But fewer questions. Adaptability requires admitting uncertainty. And uncertainty feels uncomfortable for people who are used to being right. Smart founders often equate doubt with weakness. In reality, doubt is a strategic asset. The founders who survive longer are not those with the strongest opinions, but those with the strongest ability to revise them. As companies grow, founders don't just build products. They build identities. They become the visionary, the operator, the technical mind. Over time, decisions stop being about outcomes and start being about protecting that identity. A founder who built their reputation on bold risk-taking may avoid cautious decisions later, even when caution is required. A founder known for discipline may resist experimentation. This is called identity lock-in. The business needs change, but the founder's self-image does not. And when identity drives decisions, logic becomes secondary. Many assume strong teams prevent bad decisions. Often, they don't. Because power dynamics distort information flow. Teams learn what the founder likes to hear, not what the founder needs to hear. Disagreement becomes expensive. Silence becomes safer. Even when data is presented, it's framed gently. This reinforces existing beliefs instead of challenging them. Smart founders unintentionally design echo chambers, not through control, but through consistency. People adapt to predictability. Being right feels good. Being wrong feels costly. In business, this emotional imbalance matters. Founders overvalue being correct in the short term and undervalue learning in the long term. They defend decisions longer than they should. They delay reversals. They rationalize losses. Not because they are careless, but because admitting error feels like losing credibility. Ironically, the longer a founder avoids correction, the more credibility they lose later. Markets don't punish uncertainty. They punish rigidity. The founders who avoid these traps don't rely on intelligence alone. They rely on systems, decision frameworks, premortems, independent metrics, external perspectives. They build processes that challenge their own thinking before reality does. They don't assume they are unbiased. They assume the opposite. This humility is not emotional. It is strategic. There is a silent difference between founders who collapse and founders who compound. One group believes clarity comes from confidence. The other understands it comes from friction. The first protects certainty. The second protects learning. Over time, this difference compounds more than talent, funding, or timing. Smart founders don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because intelligence convinces them they are less vulnerable than they are. The most dangerous decisions are not reckless ones. They are decisions that feel reasonable, defensible, and familiar. And the most resilient founders are not the smartest in the room, but the ones who remain suspicious of their own certainty.